All right.
Tricks of the trade we got.
You pronounce it
Lemma, like Emma with an L.
Lama?
Yeah.
L-A-M-A?
Yeah, but pronounced like Emma with the L, so not super helpful.
Alright, cool.
Alrighty.
Hello, would you like
Thank
to
you, absolutely.
Awesome.
But I'll take plastic, that's okay too.
Yeah, it's water. It's
kidding.
just the vessel it comes in. All right.
Just, we're on a podcast, precision of language. You said glass.
Yeah, well, we're about to understand
Set up my
why you're
upset
picking on me like that.
expectations.
You're so mean.
That's that you said you wanted a bantery vibe. Like, I'm here to provide.
I don't know what I am. I don't know what I need. I don't know what this is going to be, but I know it looks pretty good, don't you?
I think so. I think it's a good vibe.
Yeah.
Good setup.
Thanks. Let me just get up a bit in my frame because I always have a tendency to sink down. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome to the Movie Media Podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
it's
thank
a pleasure
you so
to be
much
here.
for saying yes. Just to give the one or two people that are watching at home a vibe. I met you last Friday at a luncheon.
Yes, and a year before that, I think, at a writers or a meetup for filmmakers in the community.
Okay, so on the Movie Media Podcast, the plan is to interview people that we meet during the course of our work. You're a little bit different because the conversation that we had at lunch, I found particularly interesting, and I like your line of work, I like your interests, and I like the way you talk about what you do. And so I'm just going to get rid of that because my wife will kill me if she sees I have the mechanics rag in my pocket again. But so why don't we kick things off by introducing yourself? So you are and you do what?
Ooh, I am Lama. Nice to meet you all. I am a writer and educator. I teach currently a political philosophy course at LSU, Louisiana State University, in the Honors College, which is a lot of fun, but I guess like where my heart is and will continue to be for the foreseeable future is in screenwriting, and whatever other writing will get me paid.
Understood.
Yeah. So, I'm a practical person at the end of the day. So, yeah, that's kind of how I got to know the guys that introduced me to you, which would be like Shamar and the team who will be on subsequent podcasts, I hear. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
unless I ban them, I might ban them.
Okay, yeah, you might as well. I mean, like, you got like the pick of the litter here. Like, why are you going to continue?
This is a good point.
Yeah,
This
it's
is a
all
good point.
downhill.
This is a good point. So political theory, you said?
Political philosophy, political theory, it's all like kind of in the same milieu, yeah.
Why? How?
Well, okay, so the TLDR is that when I was...
Not that cool. What's TLDR?
It's too long, don't read.
Okay.
Like, okay, so we're like just like
feel cool
the summary version is that when I was graduating high school, I was like belligerently political in the sense that I was like, I have radical politics that I don't want to be asked questions on, so I want a degree. Like, I want, whenever people ask me, like, how are you an anarchist? How are you a communist? Like, don't you know anything about the economy? Don't you know anything about politics? But like, I have these degrees. Thank you. Stop asking me any further questions. And then I was like, wait, what do I do with these degrees now that I have them? And I was like, I guess I'm going to have to let people ask me questions. I'm going to go to university and like teach now.
That's great. So I'm going to leave that one there.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the writing side. So have you always written and, or did it find you or did you find it?
Combo, like, we're still finding each other, hoping for a mute cute that like, is prosperous one day. But, I have always like in school, like and stuff gravitated towards like the written side of things, like whether it was, like staging like little plays to get out of like doing actual assignments or, I don't know, like I used to write like really long yearbook entries for everybody, even if I didn't know or like you, but I just thought it was fun. So it was kind of just like a hobby horse type of thing. But when I was in college and not really caring about my political and economic classes, I ended up taking a screenwriting class just for the fun of it. And like my professor was kind of like, well, what are you going to do when you graduate? And I said, girl, I don't know. Like, we're going to find out. And he said, no, you're going to move to LA. And I said, I'm going to stay right here in the other LA because COVID was happening and that wasn't going to be on the way. But I had a final draft account I spent $200 on. So I was like, might as well keep writing.
Okay, so it was like a gremlin inside of you that came out in creepy ways, and eventually you were like, hey, I can make a career out of this.
Yeah, I mean, like, if the career comes, that would be most excellent. In the meantime, it is going to continue to be like the thing I tell people so I don't look like a sellout, mostly.
Okay, that's fantastic to know, and I appreciate your honesty. So, so as an ignorant basic fifth grader in my head, like when I think screenwriter, I think writer, I think author.
Yeah.
How wrong am I? Like, how do you consider yourself an author, or writer, or like, do you specifically edit scripts? Like, what's your?
That's a really interesting question. Because I guess you don't usually apply the term author to screenwriters, and I'm not sure why. Like, I've heard screenwriting most often described as like being closest to poetry because it is about like the economy of language, which clearly like I have not yet honed that skill. I'm still
I'm not
quite
going to ask how old you are.
Yeah.
Something tells me you're starting out, which is fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, no. So I'm still working on the whole brevity is the soul of wit thing. But I'd say I guess that like the primary difference that I would see between screenwriter and like literary other literary figures that you'd be familiar with is that I think that screenwriting is like it's an ensemble art. Like it's always in service of a broader, more collaborative group, and like it's kind of like, you know, I don't like the idea that it's like just like a blueprint for a film. It's not that, because it is its own. To say that much would be reductive, because then it's like that the artistry and the compelling nature of the language that doesn't actually feature in the film would be somehow irrelevant. But like it is completely relevant in the sense that, like, practically speaking, if the language doesn't like call to you, doesn't grasp you, doesn't move you, then it's actually not going to get made in the first place, because no executive or just even like, you know, person, like no actor, no anybody is going to like want to see it come to life as much as they've seen it in their head. So there is still like an artistry to that craft, but at the end of the day, you sell a script, and then like not even the people who read the best screenplay at the Oscars read the screenplay. They watch the movie. So like, you know, in that way, like maybe it's a funerary art. Like maybe we're writing something for its own, like, I don't know, like dismemberment in a way. But so it's not, you know, like, so you're not a classical author in that sense. But honestly, like maybe one day we will be. Like today we read, you know, like Shakespeare and Sophocles or whatever. We read their plays, like the texts that were supposed to just be performed. Maybe one day we'll be reading screenplays.
I think we're all, at the end of the day, I mean, we're all expressing ourselves through our work in ways that make us happy. We have to change that sometimes when the client specifically insists. But at the end of the day, this is all just a reality. It's my world, and you're just living in it.
Yeah. Thank you for having us in it. You know, it was very charitable of you to like to create a world and all that. Could you maybe make it a little bit nicer or cheaper?
Cheaper. I don't know about that.
No.
Well, I could have a conversation I had with my wife this morning. I got told off. Apparently, I charged too less.
Oh,
anyway,
okay. Well, then my bad.
Yeah, back on track. So I have a couple of director friends that have produced some content that has been aired in different places on different stations and different networks, and they all have a similar thread that runs through their thinking, and that's that you can't outshoot a script.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I think when you're talking about your art being dead, I think that it might be one of the most important documents, I think, because when you're about to say yes or no to a project, it always comes to you in that screenplay, that script form, and that's the document that the actors are deciding on, and the directors are deciding on, all that stuff. And so,
true.
I wonder how much in the process, you know, might deviate. I don't know. It depends on the director, but certainly I think it's important, you know, that at least at the outset, because how else can people gonna?
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely crucial. I don't mean to underplay the importance of a screenplay. It's more, I guess, that it's like its circulation is more intimate.
Yeah. So
it's not like in this like this is you know, this is the wrong thing to say, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Good.
Is that
I do it all the time.
that it's like, okay, like there's like a certain art to like, you know, like making like an HR manual or something, but only like the people in your company are going to see that. Like, and I'm not going to say that like screenplays and HR manuals have the same, you know, like the same efficacy as an art form, but I am going to say that it kind of like in how it's currently perceived, like a screenplay would be more akin to something like that than to like a novel, in the sense that you see the the byproduct of its articulation and its specificity and like the nature of its language and its speech and everything more widely than you see actually like how the sausage gets made of it. Or like,
Okay, so I want you to tell me, give me an, I don't mind, whatever. I know you're young and you're enthusiastic and you're probably working on a bunch of different things.
Sure.
Can you pick one thing and tell me about the story? What are you writing about right now? What screenplays are you writing?
Well, currently, this is a great time to pub our short film that is going to be made hopefully soon. Currently writing a short film that was centered around like a monologue about like by a YouTube guru, you know, one of these new age spiritual types that many of us might frequent when we're lost and confused and young. And the idea was kind of like trying to capture like the rhythmic emotion of what it's like to give someone else advice, realize that you're giving yourself that advice, and then decide you don't want to take it. So like that was like, it was crafting a story around an emotional arc has been kind of like the challenge with this project, and finding kind of like what visual cues can like clue the audience into feeling in tandem with this person, and to not necessarily have to empathize completely where they're like, oh, I am you and I get this, but like to where you're like, I understand why you're doing what you're doing. Wish you wouldn't though. Like wish you wouldn't. So that's kind of that's the most recent project I've been working on.
So how do you obsess, you know, outside of when you're teaching your classes at LSU? Are you just like always thinking about this? You go into Starbucks and buying a cup of coffee and you're like, yeah, maybe the person you interact with at the coffee shop is like influencing your thinking about how you think about characters. Is that how it works for you? Are you obsessive, or are you just like, you sit down for 2 hours a day and you're like, now I shall write?
Oh, no, it's definitely more like all the writing gets done outside of the page for sure. Yeah. Like, it's just like there's always like a little ticker tape going on behind my eyelids. Then it's just like, and story and scene and whatever. And the actual sitting of it is like, ooh, why don't I get up and like do everything else in the world before?
How often do you talk at your phone?
Oh, constantly, especially because so like this podcast hopefully is being improved. Well, yeah.
Careful, this is my podcast.
Oh, I got you. I was going to say, hopefully that my contribution to it has been improved, and that in the sense that I'm trying to avoid filler words like and all that stuff, because 90% of my communication these days is voice notes, like on text, because I'm a writer who hates to write. Like, it's like, that's work, that's labor. So like I'm not about to type out text, but I will just sit there and send out story ideas to like my friends who like live across the country. I'm like, and then he does this, and they're like, and then I was like, or he does this, and they're like, wait, like, and so pretty much everything is documented in the voice notes, hopefully on their phones, because I can't save them for storage.
I appreciate the lack of the ums and ahs. It's very important to me. I also really try to avoid pregnant pauses.
Don't have to worry about those. I'm kind of like a motor mouth.
Yeah, I'm just making a little note here. So anyway, yeah. So stories. Do you do the stories come to you, or do the stories pour out of you?
So I vainly wish that they would pour out of me. So I almost always start with like, and then it has to be this that came exclusively from my mind, and then like usually. That turns out to be shit. I don't know if we can curse on here, but that turns out to be really bad because it's isolated and means nothing. So then it'll end up being where like I get stuck and then sad, and then I'm like, I'm the worst at this, and then somebody will do something and I'm like, and that's the story. So it almost always ends up like, first I must fail at trying to like do it by myself, and then I have to like find it in the world.
How are you with failure? Are you a go in a corner and cry kind of person, or are you a angry person? Do you get angry at yourself? And
I'm not usually angry. My dominant emotion would be like frustrated, and I've gotten better at just kind of things. I try not to. If I like,
sorry, that was my phone. I'm really bad at turning it off. It's almost rude.
You asked me if I smash things right whenever I'm like, you're like 2 seconds away from going Hulk. Like, but no, I usually opt not for smashing things on purpose. Do things get smashed around me because I'm clumsy and frustrated? Maybe so.
I get quiet.
Maybe so.
I get quiet. When I get frustrated, well, that's after I get loud. I usually get loud, then I get quiet.
I guess it kind of depends on who I'm around, because if it's like around a team of fellow creatives who are collaborating, I will just be like,
next question is like,
look at that.
Like, do you consider yourself to be a creative, or do you approach the screenwriting as like, where are you on that spectrum? Are you like, are you more nerd, or are you like more creative?
Ew.
Where do you fall?
I think that like probably intuitively I'm more on like the nerd analytical. Like I'd probably be a better film critic than like a screenwriter, but I'm more deeply enchanted and attracted to the world of like the artist and their tumults and tragedies.
So how do you feel that creatives, and you don't have to name names,
Yeah.
that, but how do you think they deal with their strong emotions when it comes to their creative craft?
I think that the ideal is that you channel it into like the process. Probably down the line, like whenever you've gone through the whole wheel of the emotion. And then in the interim, though, I'd say most of the time you just take it out on everybody you're working with. Like, not me, but like others.
That's a beautiful blend of honesty
Yeah.
and sincerity. And I think there's a lot of truth to that as well. I have to work with, I say I have to work with, creative people are amazing. My creative people are always looking at me and being like, you know, you're not a nerd, you're creative. I always feel very technical about things though, which is why I asked. I always find that very interesting. So we've talked about what projects you're working on. What about where people can find you? Are you like building a career? Have you got a website or anything like that?
Got a Substack.
A Substack?
Yeah. Have you heard of
Lord, that's
Substack?
so rude. Sorry.
I know, it's ridiculous.
Substack. I have heard of Substack. Is that the subscription place?
Kind of, like people can subscribe to you, like, but basically what it's like X, formerly known as Twitter, like for writers, and you basically like you can start up like what serves as a newsletter. Like anytime you make like a long form post, it will get sent out to anybody who is like subscribed to you, and they don't have to have the website or the app. They just have to put their email in.
So I'm old. I've got like 4 kids, and so I don't keep up with the socials, and I used to call it the interwebs, and so that's a problem I have. So Substack, I heard about it because they talk about it on the news sometimes.
Yeah.
But you're on that, and that's where you're publishing your stuff. Are you like, do you have more stuff published and unlisted, or do you have more stuff published and publicly available on it?
It should be publicly available, anything that's on there, and it's mostly like short stories and like poems and random stuff.
If you could wave a magic wand and say in like 15 years, you know, where is Lima? What's she doing?
Probably in Peru, I'm guessing.
Why
Because
Peru?
that's where the capital of is Lima. But as Lemma, where's she at?
Sorry.
That's cool. That's cool. I got you on
You said
that one.
the A is pronounced E, so I
Like
was with
E.
Lee.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Le.
Yeah,
Le.
like
It's
sorry.
Lama, and before we came on, you said the A is pronounced E. And you're
Yeah.
right, you did say, but it's stuck as the E, and I'm sorry.
Yes,
So
that's okay.
don't worry, I'll just edit that out. This won't make it.
No,
This
that
would be
was
a really
that was
disjointed
really
podcast, but like,
you're
no,
gonna take
and
it
no,
out, but
and
that
no.
was like the best line I've delivered all
That's
day. Like,
fantastic.
that's
I'll
not
let you
fair.
have that one. It'll stay in.
Okay,
It'll
thank
stay in.
you.
So 15
Okay.
years from now, where are you going to be?
Honestly, like I want to be making movies about the South. So like I want to be here,
You're
or
making movies about the South.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. I feel like shout out Sinners. If anyone saw that recently, it was one of the first time you see like the South like very much captured on screen in such a beautiful way. It was so familiar, and it was also parts of like Southern life that like are real, like intangible, and like are so far removed from the kind of like stereotypes, I guess, of the South, because they convey the lived experience and the beauty of it. So like through the lens of like marginalized voices, and that would be, you know, my ultimate goal, I think, is.
Could you,
perspective.
so y'all don't sound like y'all from around here,
Yeah.
and your interest in the South just prompted me to wonder, you know, what's your connection to Baton Rouge? Born and raised here, or like you're an implant?
Born and raised in Zachary, which is like 20 minutes north of here. So,
Zachary
like,
is as far north as you can go before you hit the country.
exactly. It's like we had two things, farm to table. We had cows and pastures, and then we had McDonald's and Burger King. So like that's really all that Zachary had to offer at the time. But now they have me. So like things are better.
It could be Lima from Zachary.
Could it, or could it be still Lima in Peru? I'm not sure.
Sorry, that's just now going to be a thing. Now
yeah,
you're
now
Lima
it's a
to me,
thing.
so,
Okay,
all
that's
right.
perfectly fair.
Like I said, you're in my simulation.
I
right
like
now.
that.
It's my world, and you're in it. No,
You're
now
so
Lima.
right about that. So like,
yeah.
okay, you know what? I like having variability. I like range and persona. So
How many
like, this
people have you
might be my
killed that have
stage.
consistently called you Lima?
So actually, it's funny. I don't get that almost ever. I get llama all the time.
Really?
I get, yeah, because it's spelled like
Well, you
almost
probably
there
prefaced
without the
that by
L.
telling you it's the E. So.
Yeah, that's why I came up with the whole like Emma with an L in high school. I thought that was easy. I tell
easy.
cashiers Emma whenever they need to call my name. You know.
So you were raised in Zachary and you came
Yeah.
to Baton Rouge. COVID was going on. What was that again? I forget.
COVID.
The plague. Oh yeah, the plague.
The plague. I don't know. Like, I was gonna try and I couldn't do it fast enough. But there's got to be some kind of like co-star and video play in there. Like, we'll workshop it eventually.
We'll just do it off. We'll insert it afterwards. Really, in a
yeah, we'll make it like a really good.
If I actually edit this, like I think I should cut out a lot of this.
Sure.
Because I look bad in a lot of it, and there was a joke that you couldn't get to. We'll slip that back in post.
Perfect.
It'll be a really disjointed podcast.
That's ADR. I'm learning my directing words. So we'll do ADR.
Ooh. I asked this as a person who is not born here. Okay, I was not born here. I've come here and I kind of see it, even after 20 years, as an outsider. I see all the quirks and all the lovely things. But just as a person that grew up in Zachary and is still here, working at LSU and aspiring to do the screenwriting thing, what is the scene like, from your perspective, in this area for the screenwriting type work? How many groups and how many people, how much is going on here from your perspective?
I feel like there is a lot of decentralized interest in film that how I see it, I'll just say from my vantage point, right? I grew up on TV, on movies, because what else would you do? It's hot. I didn't want to go outside. So very, very much interested in that. And then when I was in high school or something, they filmed Twilight here, which is the most important cultural phenomena in the last century, period. And directorially unmatched. Gotta see it.
I've never watched one.
Oh my God. They replay it in theaters occasionally. Last week I went and saw it. You gotta go. The camera work, unreal. It's ridiculous.
Did you say Twilight?
Twilight. Stephanie Meyer's Twilight.
Yeah, so I was in
Breaking Dawn, all of them.
Where was I the other month? I was shooting a convention and I'm scoping out the area and I went upstairs and they had a Twilight convention going on.
Thank you. See, once again,
it was a very, very big deal that I obviously had missed.
Yeah. That's honestly to run a place called Movie Media and be illiterate in the annals of film is actually
I'm leaving that in,
that's rough. Okay. Great. But anyway, they filmed it here. I was at the mall. Dakota Fanning was there. I was like, oh my God, is that girl from the Pig movie? She was in Babe, I think. And then I got her to sign a napkin. Turned out she was here for Twilight. It turns out that Louisiana gave a lot of tax breaks to people doing films.
Yes, that's why the film industry came here.
Yes, so now there's tons of people who migrate in, do some film and go.
Yes.
But which wasn't awesome for the economy. But as a consequence, so many people I knew just became extras on film or just catered film or whatever, and then started breathing that air, thinking that was cool. And I think that a lot of people have broken into the industry through some of these avenues, but more than that, what I see in Baton Rouge is people who more isolated individuals who have some kind of interest, who have some kind of hobby horse, try to get together every once in a while. For some reason, that always busts apart. And then, you regroup and you regroup and you regroup until, hopefully something eventually sticks. So I'm waiting for the next, hub of.
Well, I would encourage you, as we wrap this up, that this is really fatherly advice.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they get competent and then they run off to Los Angeles or they run off to Atlanta or they run off to wherever in Canada they're shooting movies right now, but not Hollywood. Anyway, so but yeah, they always come back. It's because the thing is that things are not, you always bring in yourself, and so wherever you end up, you still have the same problems. Yeah. And I believe, and this is the way I'm going about this whole making TV shows stuff, because we're mostly corporate stuff, right? We're aspiring into working into documentaries and that kind of thing. Is that and this is such a horrible reality, if the work's good enough, everyone will find you. Mm-hmm. And so to that end, keep writing. I wish you the best of luck. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to I have no good way to sign off this, so we're just gonna cut it. Right?
Boom. There you go. Signed.